you've ever taken the subway around the David Dinkins Manhattan Municipal building, you've probably seen this little weathered section of brick wall with a window sealed behind heavy iron bars, and if you've been to the Cortlandt House Museum in the Bronx, you may have noticed another section of that wall with a nearly identical barred window. The story goes that both came from a building that was used as a prison during the Revolutionary War. But is that true? This is a story of New York City's two surviving Sugar House prison windows. Back in 1763, a sugar house was built at Duane and Rose Streets in Lower Manhattan. Built by Henry Cuyler, it was used to refine and store sugar and molasses, and later became known as the Cuyler Sugar House. When the British occupied New York during the Revolutionary War, sugar houses around the city were used to hold American prisoners. Conditions were horrific, and thousands of American prisoners died in British captivity from disease, starvation, and overcrowding. The story goes that the Cuyler Sugar House was one of those prisons. By 1790, the Rhinelander family had taken over the property, giving the building a new name, the Rhinelander Sugar House. Its reputation as a Revolutionary War prison grew, eventually giving rise to stories of terrible conditions, ghosts, and hauntings. When the sugar house was demolished in 1892, two sections of its old wall survived, each containing a barred window. One window was incorporated into the new Rhinelander building, constructed on the site in 1893. When the building was demolished in 1968, the window was saved again and eventually moved behind what is now One Police Plaza. The other window made its way to the Bronx. In 1903, the National Society of Colonial Dames installed it beside the Cortlandt House, which had opened as a museum in 1897. But there's a problem with this story. For years, the prison story was treated as fact. In 1902, the New York City Parks Department described the window as coming from a sugar house which was used as a prison during the Revolutionary War. But there were skeptics. In 1890, while the sugar house was still standing, New York historian Wesley Washington Pasco wrote that older New Yorkers insisted it had been a prison, but he had seen no contemporary evidence of the fact. In 2008, historian Edwin G. Burroughs challenged the story as well in his book, Forgotten Patriots. The Museum of the City of New York notes that the British definitely used two other Manhattan sugar houses as prisons, but little evidence suggests that the Cuyler Sugar House served as one. So were these windows part of a prison? We don't really know. But the story was powerful enough that New Yorkers preserved these two windows as memorials to the Americans who were believed to have suffered and died there. And whether the story is true or not, these windows have survived two demolitions and more than 260 years of New York history. So that's kind of interesting.